January 332 BCE. The Phoenician coast. You're looking at a problem that should have ended the greatest military campaign in history. 1 kilometer of open water. Walls that climb 40 meters straight out of the sea. A navy powerful enough to supply and defend a city indefinitely. No army in recorded history has ever taken Tyre by force. Alexander the Great is about to change that. He has 30,000 soldiers. He has no ships, and he cannot leave Tyre standing. Because as long as this city breathes, the Persian Empire still controls the Mediterranean. Persian ships can raid his supply lines, threaten Greece from the rear, undo everything he has built since Isis. By every rule of ancient warfare, this siege should be impossible. It will take 7 months, the largest naval force assembled in the Eastern Mediterranean, and one idea so audacious it reshaped how warfare was fought for centuries after. But here is the question nobody asks. What if it hadn't worked? After crushing Darius at Issus in 333 BCE, Alexander didn't chase the Persian king inland. He turned south. His logic was cold and correct. A Persian navy, still at large, could strangle his campaign from the sea. To own Asia, he first had to own the coastline. City after city submitted. Byblos fell without a fight. Sidon opened its gates and cheered him as a liberator. The coast was folding. Then he reached Tyre. Tyre wasn't simply another walled city. It was the Persian navy's lifeline, where warships docked, where crews recovered, where sea power was maintained and projected. As long as it stood, Persia had a knife at Alexander's back. The Tyrians knew exactly what they held, and they had no intention of giving it up. Alexander didn't open with threats. He sent envoys requesting permission to perform a religious sacrifice, a face-saving offer that carried one condition: Tyre would be acknowledging him as king of Asia. The Tyrians refused. Then they went further. Alexander's envoys were executed. Their bodies were thrown from the walls into the sea. There was no walking away from this. Not for Alexander, and not for Tyre. He swore the city would fall. Almost no one believed him. The walls rose straight out of water. There was nothing to undermine, no ground to tunnel, no slope to assault. He couldn't starve the city. Tyre's navy kept supply lines open across the sea. He couldn't challenge that navy. He had no fleet. What he could do was think differently than any commander before him. Centuries earlier, Tyre hadn't been an island at all. The original city had stood on the mainland. Those ruins still existed along the shoreline, crumbling stone, abandoned and forgotten. Alexander looked at the rubble of old Tyre, then looked at the island, and made the decision that changed everything. He would build the land to reach it. Stone by stone, the ruins of old Tyre were dismantled, shaped, and dragged into the sea. What grew from the water wasn't a road, it was a declaration. As the causeway pushed outward, it entered range of the city's walls. Construction became combat. Arrows fell from the battlements. Alexander raised siege towers and mounted catapults at the causeway's head, pushing them forward as the stone advanced. Then Tyre responded. A ship packed with pitch and timber was lit and driven into the siege towers. The towers caught. Flames climbed the wooden frames and collapsed them into the sea. Months of construction vanished in minutes. The siege stalled. This is the moment everything almost ended. Alexander's army is exhausted. The causeway is in ruins. The towers are ash in the water. And Tyre still stands. What would you do? He built a navy. Sidon provided ships and crews. Byblos offered its war galleys. The kings of Cyprus withdrew from Persia and brought 120 warships to Alexander's side. Within weeks, he commanded more than 200 vessels. He deployed them to seal both of Tyre's harbors. When Tyrian divers cut his ship's anchor cables, He replaced them with iron chain. The ports closed. The sea lanes closed. Tyre stood alone. The causeway was rebuilt, wider, stronger, designed not to burn. Assault ships, fitted with battering rams, worked the southern wall day after day, striking the same stones, searching for the crack that had to come. It came. Alexander led the assault himself through the breach, while triremes forced both harbors simultaneously. The fighting spread house to house, rooftop to rooftop. 7 months of defiance met 7 months of fury. Tyre fell. The city's defenders paid in full. Thousands were killed. Thousands more sold. 2,000 were crucified along the shoreline. But what Alexander bought was the world. Egypt opened its gates. He was crowned pharaoh. His supply lines were safe, his flanks covered, and Persia had lost the sea. The causeway he built still connects what was once an island to the mainland of Lebanon today. He changed the geography of the earth. Now ask the question, what if he had walked away? The fire ship burns. The towers collapse. Morale breaks. What if Alexander had looked at the wreckage, looked at the island still sitting untouched 1 kilometer away, and made the rational decision? What if he had left Tyre standing? On the surface, one city uncaptured. But the consequences don't stop at the Phoenician coast. If Tyre holds, Persia keeps the sea. The Persian navy, still operational, still supplied, can now raid Alexander's supply lines and arm the Greek city-states that never fully accepted Macedonian rule. Sparta is already restless. Athens is watching. Alexander cannot march east with Greece burning behind him. He turns back, and Darius, who fled Issus in humiliation, is suddenly no longer retreating. He has time, resources, and the full depth of the largest empire on earth. He uses all of it. He rebuilds, he waits. Alexander never reaches Egypt. No Pharaoh Alexander, no Alexandria, no library. The great intellectual crossroads of the ancient world is never built. The fusion of Greek and Eastern thought that reshaped philosophy, medicine, and astronomy across 3 centuries never reaches its depth. The Hellenistic age doesn't happen, and Rome rises into a different world. Harder borders, a still powerful Persia, a Mediterranean that never becomes the connected civilization we know. All of it because one city didn't fall. All of it because a man chose to stop. Alexander didn't stop, but the margin between the world we know and a world that never came to be was a fire ship, a burned tower, and a decision made in the dark. That is what makes this siege the most important battle most people have never fully understood. If this is the kind of history that makes you think, subscribe to CounterFact. New episode every week. The past isn't fixed, and neither is your understanding of it.